Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey into a story that's both terrifying and shrouded in mystery. This is about a certain hotel. A hotel no one dares to talk about. But everyone in this town knows it well. The Abandoned Cliffside Hotel. Decades ago, this hotel was the star of the town. Luxurious, majestic, spacious rooms, sparkling with light from crystal chandeliers, deep red velvet curtains, soft carpets that felt like walking on clouds. People from all over flocked to stay here. Businessmen sealing big deals, couples on their honeymoons, and travelers eager to experience the grandeur of this place. But beneath all that beauty, something was hidden. Something dark and cold. Something that seemed to be waiting to reveal itself. I first heard this story from my grandmother. I was just a child then, curled up by the fire. She told it in a trembling voice, as if afraid that speaking too loudly, something might hear her. She said, this hotel was cursed. Cursed by a young woman named Lalita. She was beautiful, like a painting. Large eyes that seemed to pierce your heart. Long, jet black hair that shimmered in the moonlight. But her fate was filled with pain. Lalita loved a man. Loved him deeply. Loved him so much she'd give up everything. He promised to marry her. Promised they'd spend their lives together. Lalita believed him. She prepared to be a bride. A pure white dress. A smile full of hope. She dreamed of a new life. A small house with children running around. But the night before the wedding, he vanished, leaving her alone in this hotel. Heartbroken. Lalita. She wasn't just heartbroken. She was furious. Her rage turned into something else. A power not of this world. That night, a hotel staff member saw her, standing at the window of the top floor room. Room 313. Her bridal gown stained with red. No one knew if it was blood or something else. Her face was pale. Her eyes bloodshot. And then, she jumped from that window. Her body vanished into the darkness of the cliff behind the hotel. No one ever found her body. No trace of her. As if she'd disappeared with the wind. But from that day on, the hotel changed. It became a place no one dared to approach. After that incident, strange things began to happen. Guests reported hearing crying in the night. Sounds coming from the walls. From the floor. From everywhere. It wasn't just ordinary crying. It was like someone was screaming from their soul. A sound filled with agony. Some said they saw a shadow standing at the foot of their bed. The shadow of a woman in white. She stared at them with empty eyes. And smiled. A smile that made your heart stop. One guest, a writer from the city, said he woke up in the middle of the night and saw a pale hand crawling out from under the bed. It tried to grab his leg. He screamed and ran out of the room. But when he checked the next morning, there was nothing under the bed. No trace at all. As if it was just a nightmare. But he knew it wasn't a dream. Then there was the story of a waiter. His name was Fatty. He said, one night, he brought food to room 313. As he knocked on the door, he heard laughter. A woman's laughter. But when the door opened, no one was inside. The food he brought was arranged on the table, as if someone was waiting to eat. But the room was empty. Fatty quit his job that day. He said he'd never go back there. Never. These stories, they spread like wildfire. But the hotel's owners refused to let rumors destroy their business. They hired a new manager. A young man named Mr. Somchai. He didn't believe in ghosts. He thought it was all made up. Stories told by cowards. He'd proved there was nothing to fear in this hotel. One night, he decided to sleep in room 313. Lalita's room. He brought a lantern. Turned on every light in the room. Locked the door tight. He sat on the bed, holding a cross in his hand. But at 3 a.m., all the lights went out. The silence was suffocating. He heard footsteps. Soft, but clear. Circling his bed. He tried to shout. But something seemed to press down on his chest. He felt like the air was being sucked from his lungs. And then, he saw her. Lalita. Standing before him. Her dress stained with blood. Her eyes like black voids. And she spoke. Why? Why did you abandon me? The next morning, they found Somchai. Frozen stiff. Eyes wide open. But no wounds. He never spoke again. After that, the hotel began to fade. Fewer guests came. Staff started quitting. And eventually, it shut down. But the story didn't end there. Years passed. The hotel became a crumbling ruin. Broken windows. Peeling walls. Thorns and vines creeping over it. But a group of thrill-seeking teens wanted to test their courage. They thought ghost stories were nonsense. Just fun tales. One night, they sneaked into the hotel, bringing sleeping bags, cameras, and a bravery I now think was utterly foolish. They chose to sleep in room 313, Lalita's room. At first, everything seemed fine. They laughed, took pictures, mocked the ghost stories. But at midnight, their cameras died. Their phones lost signal. And then, they heard a sound. Like someone singing. A wedding song. But the voice was hoarse and cold, as if it came from far away, yet close enough to chill their bones. One of them, named Nan, said she felt someone grab her hand. It was cold as ice. She screamed and ran out of the room. But her friends, none of them followed. She ran down the creaking, ancient stairs, feeling like something was chasing her. The sound of breathing, footsteps. She didn't dare look back. The next morning, Nan told the police, sobbing uncontrollably. The police went to investigate, and what they found was more horrifying than anyone could imagine. Nan's 3 friends. They were found in room 313, frozen stiff, eyes wide open, and strangest of all, they were dressed in bridal gowns, stained with red. No one knew what happened, and no one wanted to know. After that, the hotel was sealed off. Iron fences went up. No entry signs everywhere. But the stories live on. Locals say, if you stand at the hotel's entrance at midnight, you'll hear Lalita's voice singing the song she sang for a wedding that never happened. And if you're brave enough to look up, you'll see her standing at the top floor window, staring down at you and smiling. A smile that feels like it's pulling your soul from your body. But Lalita isn't the only one. Some say the hotel holds other spirits. Spirits of workers who died there. Spirits of guests who vanished. There's a story about a little girl named Mew, the daughter of a cleaning lady. One night, her mother brought her to the hotel, with no one to watch her. Mew loved running around the grand lobby, laughing, singing. But that night, Mew disappeared. They searched every corner, called her name until their voices gave out. But she was gone. Some say they hear a little girl's laughter coming from the lower corridors. But when they look, there's nothing. No one. And to this day, that laughter echoes in the hotel. Soft, but clear, as if Mew is still playing there. Then there's Mr. Eck, a bellboy who worked at the hotel when it was still open. He was hardworking, but loved eavesdropping on guests. He thought it was fun, thought he'd hear secrets. One night, he overheard guests in room 313 talking about something chilling, something terrifying. Eck decided to peek. He opened the door, and what he saw changed him. He ran from the hotel, pale as if he'd seen a ghost, and no one ever saw him again. But some say, if you pass the luggage hall, you'll hear the sound of bags being dragged. And Eck's whisper, "Don't go in. Don't go in." There's also Auntie Fat, the hotel's cook. Everyone loved her. Her food was delicious, and she loved telling ghost stories to the staff. But one night, she said she saw a woman in white walk through the kitchen. She thought it was a guest. But when she followed, the woman was gone. And the knives in the kitchen, they floated on their own. Auntie Fat screamed and quit the next day. She said she'd never go back. And to this day, if you pass the old kitchen, you might smell food. A smell that shouldn't be there, because no one's cooked in that kitchen for decades. Then there's Uncle Moon, the hotel's security guard. He was fearless, never scared of anything. But one night, he said he saw a shadow pacing the grand lobby. He thought it was a thief. He followed, baton in hand. But as he got closer, the shadow turned to face him. And it wasn't human. It was a woman, pale, with empty eyes. Uncle Moon dropped his baton and ran. He never returned to work. And he said he'd never forget that face. A face that shouldn't exist. These stories, they make me wonder what's really hidden in that hotel. Why does it attract such misfortune? Why won't the spirits leave? Some say the hotel was built on forbidden land. Land once used for some kind of ritual. A ritual against nature. A ritual that summoned something. And Lalita, she might not just be a victim of love. She might be part of that curse. Or maybe she created it. Her rage, so powerful it became an eternal force. I heard a story from a taxi driver. One night, a woman flagged him down. She wore a white dress. Beautiful. But her eyes, they were empty. She said she wanted to go to the Abandoned Cliffside Hotel. The driver hesitated. He knew the stories, but he drove her anyway. On the way, he tried to make conversation, but she didn't respond. She sat still, staring out the window. When they arrived, he turned to look, but no one was in the back seat. He panicked and sped away. But when he glanced in the rearview mirror, he saw her sitting there, smiling. He quit driving that day. He said he'd never forget that smile. Then there's the story of a writer. Her name was Prey. She wanted to write a novel about the hotel. Thought it would be her masterpiece. She sneaked into the hotel with a notebook and a flashlight. She sat in room 313, writing everything she felt. She said she felt like someone was watching her. And as the night grew darker, she heard sounds. Like footsteps. Like whispers. She wrote it all down. She wrote, "Something's in the shadows. It's watching me," but that night, she vanished. The police found her notebook. The last page read, "She's here. She wants me to stay. No one knows what happened to Prey." But that notebook, it became a legend. And some say, if you read it, you'll hear Prey's voice, whispering, "Don't come here. Don't come." There's also a young photographer named Joe. He loved photographing abandoned places. Thought the hotel would give him stunning shots. He went in the afternoon with an expensive camera and a tripod. He photographed every corner, the lobby, the stairs, room 313. He thought he'd get beautiful images. But when he reviewed the photos, every single one had a shadow. The shadow of a woman in white, standing everywhere. In every frame. Joe tried to delete the photos, but the files kept reappearing. He threw the camera away and left town. He said he'd never take photos again. Never. Then there's the story of a priest. He heard about the hotel and thought he'd exorcise the spirits. He went inside with a holy book and holy water. He stood in the grand lobby and began to pray. But the more he prayed, the colder the air became. His flashlight died, and he felt like people were standing around him. He heard whispers, voices saying, "Leave. Leave now." He ran from the hotel and said, whatever was in there, it wasn't an ordinary spirit. It was something more powerful. Something he couldn't fight. Today, the hotel still stands. Silent, but full of secrets. The broken windows, like eyes staring at you. The rotting doors, like a mouth ready to swallow you. Some say, if you're brave enough to go inside, you'll feel Lalita's gaze, watching you from every corner. And if you stay too long, you might not come out. Some say, the hotel isn't just a place. It's like a living thing. Hungry. Wanting something from you. I heard a story from a young man, an urban explorer. He went into the hotel with a GoPro, live streaming for his friends. He walked through the lobby, the dining hall, and up to the top floor. He laughed, mocked the ghost stories. But his camera started glitching. The footage flickered, and strange shadows appeared in the video. He kept going until he reached room 313. He opened the door, and the camera cut out. His friends watching the stream, they heard a scream, and then silence. The young man vanished. no one found him. And that video, it went viral. But every time someone watches it, the video stops at the same point. And sometimes, you'll see Lalita's shadow standing behind him. I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know if Lalita is just a story, or if she's still there, waiting. But one thing I know for sure, I'll never go near that hotel. Never. And if you want to know more, I suggest you go see for yourself. But don't say I didn't warn you.